Hello, Dr. Prue. This is my PowerPoint presentation, and I'm going to start it from the beginning. Okay, so I chose to do my research over gender and leadership roles in social service agencies, and I'll tell you a little bit why in my background section. For the sake of not hurting your eyes, I actually went ahead and took every individual section and broke it up into its own individual slide. So for the background section, the reason that I chose to do this research in particular is because in recent decades, the cultural and racial climate of companies, social service agencies in particular, has begun to shift. There has been an influx of immigrant populations in the past century, and the race of those in leadership has more so stayed consistent. But what has changed a little bit is the gender of those in position of authority. That's begun to change. So it started off homogeneously white and male, and now it's more so female and white. And this prospective study focuses exclusively on this current trend. And the current study also seeks to find, is there a relationship between gender and leadership roles in social service agencies? And that is actually my research question. So I will tell you a little bit about the methodology. The research design, the model, well, excuse me, method is basically grounded theory, starting at the actual ground level and assessing different trends, and then building a theory based off of that. And the process, there was a process for collecting data at every individual organization. But the thing about it is, because the students from the section 5537 didn't put their methodology section into it, I really can't tell you what they did at each individual site, which they collected data. So this particular methodology section focuses more on healthy families, which is the practicum site that I was at. But anyway, so yeah, data is coming from at least 10 sites that I am aware of: Operation Breakthrough, Journey to New Life, Family Center Services, IIS, Gillis, Healthy Families, Investigations, elementary schools, Crenton and O&M. And yeah, so again, it was all aggregated from these places. And let me tell you a little bit more about how I proceeded at Healthy Families. So at Healthy Families, it's an interesting kind of like demographic there. It's like 90% women. Men are extremely underrepresented in the staff there. There is one African American worker, and the rest are of Caucasian descent, or they identify themselves as Caucasian. And the age range spans between 28 and 43, but the the mean age of the workers there is 35.2 years of age. So there were two administrators, and then there were five FSS specialists of some kind, and those are basically just like kind of like the frontline staff, the actual workers that go into the homes and work with the families on an intimate basis. And so there were five surveys that were distributed, and there were also five surveys that were omitted. I had a process in which I went about collecting anonymous surveys versus those who did traditional participation, and bless their heart. But some of the people there who took the anonymous survey, they went and they made copies, and then they distributed them to more people. But they distributed it to people who worked outside of my actual agency. So that's the reason why I disregarded their data. And I believe I talk a little bit more about that in my limitation section. Um, but basically, the procedure that took place, what I did was I recruited from a staffing meeting at Healthy Families. That's the only time when everybody is present. And basically, I told them that I was just trying to collect general demographic information, that I had a survey that would assess for it, and it was from Portland State University, I believe. And I also let them know the potential risks and benefits of the study. The only risk that I could foresee is that these questions of diversity could maybe incite maybe some type of frustration, because they may realize there is a lack of diversity, or they may realize that the clients that they're serving are different from them, and there's some type of differentiation. So I also let them know that I passed a collaborative institutional training initiative certification online, so I actually am permitted to do human subjects research, at least as it pertains to doing this project. So there were two face-to-face interviews, and I basically told them during the staffing meeting I need between 2 and 3 face-to-face interviews, and I also need between 2 and 3 anonymous anonymous ones. So for the face-to-face ones, I just pulled them in one at a time into the staffing lounge slash copy room, and basically I administered the survey to them, and I let them complete it, and I stood a safe distance between them so that they wouldn't feel like I was looking over their shoulder, or there wouldn't be any type of socially desirable responses that would be going on as a result of me being really close to them. So that happened, and basically I read through the questions and I allowed for them to respond on their own paper. And if they had any questions, I would like have intermediate breaks so they could ask, what does this mean? How is it worded? Section J on the questionnaire is one that actually everybody kind of had an issue with or a lack of understanding. So, and for the anonymous surveys, what I did was I told them that in the copy room that there were going to be 3 copies of the anonymous surveys, and after they took one, do it at their own timing. I was going on an outing for 3 hours. Do it during that time frame. Turn it back into the folder on my desk and place it face down. And so 3 participants actually did do that while I was out, and I came back and saw those surveys had been completed. So, in addition to those surveys being completed, there was also a list of directions printed out, just in case in my absence they had some questions that I wasn't able to get to because I wanted the surveys to definitely be anonymous. So that was basically the procedure. And again, the only material that was used was a survey. Um, and that is my methodology section. So for my findings, I performed a chi-square, I performed a chi-square test and actually found that there was no significant relationship. You will see here; these are actually in APA format. Here are my results using the P level of 0.05. And in general, there are more female workers in leadership positions based off the sample used, but these results must be put in the perspective of the ratio of men to women at these agencies. There's 2 to 5, for every 2 to 5 women, there's 1 man, and that's basically the ratio. To depict these findings, I ran the chi statistical analysis, and I also used the contingency table, and you'll see that in table A in a future slide. So the contingency table is actually right here on the right, and it's not labeled table A, but that's what it is. So you'll see that my sample was 130, and so the methodology again was based off of the data that I collected, and I could account for the methodology at my site. But from all sites altogether, this is the sample. So total, there were 130 women, and 58 of those women were in leadership positions. So I believe that's about 46% or 45 maybe. And you'll see that there are only 51 men at these social service agencies, and there are about 24 of them in leadership roles. So actually, it's pretty close to half and half. But again, you have to put into perspective half of what? Half of 130, half of 51. So there still are more women in leadership. So for the discussion section, basically just kind of once again just reiterating those stats and what they mean, and putting it into perspective of the ratios. Even though there's a 2% increase when it comes to men in position, it's a 2% increase based off of that sample. And oh yeah, the best part of all. So yeah, if it wasn't previously stated, there was no relationship found. So again, there we didn't actually set out to find what we thought we would. So in conclusion, it's important to assess roles within an organization. It is important to take it a step further to look at who is occupying those roles. and the clientele is becoming overwhelming